Okay. Welcome everyone. Today on Music Explained, presented by Solar Media, we are joined by OddKidOut, the Philly-born producer, finger drummer phenomenon who turned raw rhythm into an electrifying career. From touring with bands at 13 to breakout releases on the Monster Cart, his sounds blend genres while staying rooted in energy and emotion. I'll get out. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
As a way to kind of jumpstart the conversation, I would love to begin where early in your journey, how you first were introduced to music and then started traveling when you were 13 in different bands and how you began your career now more on the electric side of things.
Yeah. So my dad saw me air drumming in the car seat when I was maybe like 3 or 4. And he turned around and was like, "Do you want to take some drum lessons?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." Um, so I started drumming around like 4 or 5 is when it started to get like serious and it consumed everything. And then by the time I got to like maybe 11, 12, 13, I was just in the city of Philadelphia playing with people twice my age. I'd gotten pretty good. And anytime I wasn't in school, I was probably playing a gig somewhere. A lot of memories of sitting outside of bars because I was nowhere near 21. And they wouldn't let me go in until I played and then kicked me out as soon as I was done.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. But yeah, I just was like a little drum rat forever. And any chance I had to play music with anybody, I did it as a drummer. And that's kind of like the origins of where I started as a musician. Yeah, it's in Philadelphia and slamming away at some drums.
I mean, the finger drumming is obviously like something that you're super, super well known for. It's wildly impressive. I saw like one of the posts that you put up on Instagram the other day that looked like, honestly, I was like, his fingers are going to fall off. I don't know how he's doing this right now. It's super impressive. I kind of want to ask a little bit more on going from live instrumentals of something like playing a drum kit and like being part of kind of like touring groups. How did that like transition organically happen into more of like the EDM space?
Yeah. I around maybe like 15, I discovered some classic like boom bap producers like Madlib, J Dilla, Pete Rock. They quickly became like my biggest inspirations. And one thing that I saw all of them do was use an MPC, and they were making all their beats using these pads. And naturally, I wanted to be like them. So I saved up some money and I got my own version. Mine was a machine. It's a different version than what they were using, but basically the same thing. And I taught myself how to finger drum and also how to produce. So I went from being on the drums to being completely on my computer in this one pad. And I was doing both at the same time. I was drumming and making beats in high school. No one knew that I was making beats though. Like I did it all to myself. It was a secret. The finger drumming thing was a secret. Only my family and friends really knew that I did it. Uh, and so once I got to college, utilized at that time, Instagram was the biggest thing. It wasn't TikTok. Um, I eventually grew my following to the point where it caught Instagram's actual attention and they reposted me on their main page. And overnight, I got like 40 or 50,000 followers. At that point, I kind of abandoned drumming and left the bands that I was in and just focused on my artist project. And of those 40 to 50,000 I gained overnight, one of them was a really big DJ whose name is Skrillex. And I
Never
eventually
heard of that guy in my life. Who's that?
Yeah. So I ended up getting my first deal with an EDM label through him. I basically moved out to LA and lived with him for a year and got signed to his label. And that's how I made the transition from being this Philly drummer to being in LA and making beats.
Wild. That's an insane jump.
Yeah, it was a lot. probably one of the best experiences of my life. But it was the day before my senior year at Drexel was supposed to start, and I was supposed to be flying home. And I called my mom, and I was like, "I'm not coming home, staying here." And yeah, it was a huge life jump, but one of those moments where you don't even think twice. It's like you have to say yes to this opportunity. So yeah, pretty crazy in retrospect.
Yeah, that's
I feel
insane. And we
I
both
feel
went
like
to
this
Bristol as well.
Yeah, we're Drexel people as well. So, I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
we know it just like you do. I mean, it's so interesting that you say like the opportunity was one that you just you couldn't turn down because I feel like maybe that's a space that some artists maybe get stuck in on the creative side is like I'm not entirely sure where this is going to lead me. But it sounds like you were so definitive and like so set on it. Was there anything that really drove that? Was it the experience of, being in LA, being around, bigger artists like Skrillex?
I think my main inspiration and the thing that always kept me going with music, because like to be real, it's hard. To choose the creative path is a very difficult thing to do. It's very lonesome. It's very unstable. There really isn't any pathway. You kind of have to figure it out yourself, right? But from a young age, I always knew, I don't know what it was, but something always told me that there was no other purpose. I'm sure there's other purposes for me to be here, but the main purpose was to create art and connect with other people and hopefully help their lives through what I create. And I never lost sight of that from the beginning. Um, so I wasn't really motivated by like money or being known or being the best at anything. More so, just I have this necessity to create these things that are in my head. I need to get them out, and the hope is that it helps other people. And so I think that was like the main driving force. I think another big part for me was my dad passing taught me very quickly that life is fleeting and the things that you leave behind as well, the material things go away, but the things you create stand the test of time, and the way that you leave an impact on other people stays forever. So I think those two things allow me to take those leaps and accept whatever consequence came with it. And luckily, it's always worked out. But um, I put in a lot of hard work, so it goes hand in hand.
And in your time in LA, because you're still there now, um, in meeting with other artists, has the music, the creative people there, do you find it being different than your time in the East Coast? So comparing like West Coast creative people in the music space, because it seems like the hub where people go to actually create music. People typically fly out to LA. Do you find that by making that decision, you just kind of open the floodgates to being able to collaborate with other artists in an environment that's more creative as a whole as well?
No doubt. Every city is different as far as creativity and collaboration and style. Like, I think artistically, New York is probably the most impactful place in the United States for art and creativity. Los Angeles, I think, is where your career thrives the most. That's just my opinion. Philly is probably not a city that usually gets brought up in that conversation, but for me, it does because it's my stomping ground, right? So um, I think Philly is a wonderful place to learn the history of music. And also, it's such a creative place where there are no other ancillary factors that are affecting the creativity, such as LA, there's a huge emphasis on like the next hit or like getting in a session and working for an artist. Whereas Philadelphia, I think there's while you may lose some of those opportunities, what you do gain is like completely unfiltered creativity, right? Because it's just a different approach and it's a different landscape. So I don't know. I mean, all of these things exist in all the cities. Like it's a stereotype to say this. What I'm saying, right? Like there's always going to be outliers, but
Yeah.
what I felt the most indifference for me was the opportunities in LA for sure. Like for me, my career took those steps up because I came here. But I would be lying if I said that I missed home, because I do.
I mean, go birds. We gotta throw
Go
that in there
birds.
somewhere, right? Of
Go
course.
birds.
That's funny. That's interesting. You said that it is maybe that's the culture of Philadelphia. It's kind of a little bit more relaxed in that sense as well, where people are creating just to create, but not driven by monetary like value. Like they don't want the money, they don't want the fame. Um, so maybe like to your point earlier of being the driving force of why you wanted to create music is to put something out there. Maybe be rooted because they're from Philly as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think music for me was always the savior too. Like anytime there was something bad in my life, that was the thing that kept me afloat. So, I naturally gravitated towards it. But look, there's like really creative and great pockets of Los Angeles that are not clouded in commercialness, right? And there's probably some stuff in Philly that's very commercially driven, right? It's like no matter where you go, it's all going to be the same. But LA just has this competitive nature to it, which is a beast and a burden at the same time, because it keeps you on your toes and you grind and you get opportunities, but sometimes it's like you're just in that rat race of always trying to level up. So
Well, something that I want to dive into off of kind of what you just said about music being like the savior and like being there, I think for so many people and like the listeners, music just bringing them out of tough times, bringing you through all different seasons of your life. I actually want to touch on your stage name, OddKidOut, and where that came from. What brought you there?
yeah, so I was actually sitting in Westfall, which is the arts building at Drexel.
Yeah.
And I had just started posting, like, before my social media caught on. I just started posting stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna like really go full in on this artist thing. And I think a feeling that I've always had from day one has literally been feeling like the odd kid out. It's not that I ever felt like I was better than anyone, and I quite always had a good amount of friends. I never felt like an outlier, but what I did feel like was my way of thinking, or maybe the way that I viewed the world, was unique to me. Again, emphasis on not thinking I'm better, just different. And when I got to college, I kind of had this idea that it was going to be this utopia of everyone's here to work on their career and everyone's here to work on their craft. And my experience was like, no, everyone's just kind of here to like drink and party, and that's cool. Like if that's what makes you happy, go for it. But I really struggled in college to fit in, and um, so that name came firstly from my own experience of just like, man, I just don't feel like I connect here, and that's where it came from. But then I quickly realized that it started to take shape for others. Like I was like, okay, well, if I feel this way, then I know there's a million other people out there that feel like they don't fit in too. And I think the message of the brand is like, it's not to say that anyone's decision is right or wrong. It's to say that whatever your decision is, and you being you, is the best way for you to be happy and the best choice that you can make. So I think the artist project for me, the name, is just to empower people to love who they are, and whatever makes them happy, as long as they're being a good person, follow that.
That is a very unique message, and I think many people will resonate with, myself included, because you do feel like the odd kid, where you're trying to do something that's different from everyone else, trying to go down a different path as well. So I think a lot of people do resonate like with the name itself, and then as well as the music that you're making. How would you say, because you touch on multiple different genres of music as well, I guess, what would you say influenced your music choice and selection? Was it just growing up, your upbringing, or just being around different artists and loving what they're doing?
Yeah, no one in my family is creative. My mom and dad did listen to a lot of music when I was growing up, so I always was exposed to it, but I never had um like that classic story of like, oh, well, I got brought up on this and my dad played this. Like I didn't have that. And I grew up in a very small town right outside of Philly where there really was no creativity. So I wasn't exposed to it. I think I don't know how it ended up being a part of my life, but it did from a young age. And um what I started to do was I just started to kind of explore. So like the things that inspired me came from seeking. So whether I was searching on YouTube or whether I was befriending people that were much older and wiser than me, and I remember like so I went to a high school in Philadelphia called Germantown Academy. And like any school, school starts on Monday, right? And Sunday night, I would be getting picked up from my house, driven to the city, and on those drives, I'd be listening to music that I've never heard before. And then I would land in a studio in the middle of Fishtown. I'm 14, everyone else is 36, and we're playing James Brown tracks. And I'm like starting to like hear all this shit I've never heard before. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And then, it was exciting to find new music. So I would always be the kid in school that was listening to like music that most other people would be like, why are you listening to that? It's like never give Butch the aux, because I'm going to play some weird stuff. And so I don't know. I think it's just that like passion of discovery is what kind of like gave me my genres to use now. Like I pull from all those things from my past. And that's probably why a lot of my music doesn't sound conventional to any genre that I do choose. And I don't mean that as like it's better. It's just I think I just kind of make weird sounding stuff sometimes because it's an amalgamation of all of that stuff.
Yeah. The That's interesting. 'Cause I think being that you did start at such a early age and you were around people that were much older than you, it did give you that like breath to discover new music. Even like it reminds me of like songs that are being made now by newer artists, but there were hints of like 90s songs, so they were sampled. And most of the time, like people now who are younger don't realize that the songs that they're listening to by these newer artists are sampled. Um, but as like you was like, oh yeah, that's from this song by Alicia Keys or Beyonce from like the 90s or so on. Um, I'm assuming I know that you had remixes online as well. Do you find yourself tapping into older music that you listened to like when you were younger and like kind of like touching up, put your own spin to it when you're making music, or do you like starting from scratch? Um,
Yeah. I think it's a subconscious thing. Like I often probably am pulling and don't even realize it, right? But when I first like in my college days, I was sampling so much music because I wasn't really releasing it, right? Like I just was sampling stuff and posting it on Instagram and making routines and like finger drumming and stuff like that. Obviously, now if you want to release something and you sample something, you have to, credit the original artist. And a lot of the stuff that I even would want to sample would be very difficult and or very pricey to be able to use that samples. Nowadays, I don't sample anything at all, but from a subconscious standpoint, I probably am pulling from a lot of things and I don't even realize it. Like one of my favorite drummers of all time, Stuart Copeland. I'm probably taking some of his syncopation, some of his techniques, and like subconsciously putting it into my drums, right? When I
yeah.
produce. So there's probably a million different types of genres that I'm pulling on. I mean, actually a pretty good example. I can't name the show, but um, I'm doing work for a Hulu show for the intro, and one thing that they wanted was, this it's not name who he is, but he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, I need something that sounds like 80s, 90s boom bap, like NWA era type stuff." And for me, it's like, okay, I know that space because I've studied it,
Yeah.
and so it helps me. Now, theoretically, if you didn't know that, you could just go and study it and probably figure it out. But for me, it helps to like understand the culture of all of it too.
Hmm.
So I pull from those experiences a lot.
Yeah. Even if you're not outright sampling, I know you mentioned like it's difficult to sample some of these tracks that are super influential and definitely, you know, you can pull from. But I did see you posted that in this past, I guess, calendar year, you've done a few super interesting remixes. And I say that they're super interesting because they span like every genre. I think I saw like NLE Choppa, Dead Mouse, and even Donna Summer.
Yeah.
How do you it's interesting to me, like, obviously, you're informed by all of these different types of genres that you've been around, not just from, you know, a young age, but in your growth as an artist and being around the industry. Like, how do you go back and forth day to day? And one day say, "All right, it's NLE Choppa today. Today it's Dead Mouse."
Yeah, it is a crazy lineup, isn't it? It's pretty weird.
It's
Um,
super, super sick. I think it speaks so much to, like, how much diversity is in your craft and how much talent you have to be able to produce like that.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I look at it as like a playground because if I take it too serious, it just sucks. Like I don't make like I don't want to create just to be like an artist and like I said, like make money and like I just want to make things. And like one of the things I hate about uh your artistry being a business is that sometimes you have to narrow the scope so that it makes sense, right? So you can brand yourself and you can be an artist that fits in a box and then you can tour. And there's a part of that element that you unfortunately kind of have to tap into a little bit. But I try and fight it as much as possible. And the range of those remixes is like me fighting against that current as hard as I can, you know, because like I want to have fun. And all three of those artists, I like all of them. I like all their music. And it's fun for me to be able to tap into those different moments. So I think what I focus more on is like the energy. So whatever energy you're receiving from that track, I hope is the same, even though they all sonically sound different. Um, the way that you feel when you listen to them, I hope is in that same stratosphere, you know? But yeah, it's also too like, how am I going to say no when those things come across my desk? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no to any of those things just because maybe I can't play the Donna Summer in my set next to the Dead Mouse remix. Like maybe those two things don't work, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to say yes. And, you know, I'll find a way to make it make sense later on.
I like that. Okay. Speaking of like when you're performing, do you kind of know where you're going into? So if you are playing more of a set, right? Do you know what songs you'll kind of have queued up, or is it more freestyle where you go in kind of based on the energy from the crowd, what they're feeling, how you're feeling, determining what you'll play for a given set?
Yeah, I'd say 95% of the time I know what I'm going to play. And the reason why that is because my DJ set is, um, it's all centered around performance. So when I'm finger drumming, I have to know most of the time, I have to know what things to cue, right? So basically, what I'm doing is like I'm choosing a bunch of songs and on the fly dictating the order of which of those songs gets played. And then not only when those songs get played, being able to trigger the different parts of the song and then also finger drum on top of them. So I only have so many hands and one brain, so, like, I have to kinda know what songs I'm doing because I have performances based upon each one of those songs, but every set you see will be a little different because the order's gonna change or the way that I perform that track, the length, everything is gonna be on the spot, and that's the way I like it because it kinda keeps me on my toes,
Yeah,
um, but most of the time, I do at least know, like, in an hour, I'll probably play 60 songs, roughly, and I'll know which ones of those I'm going to pull from. It's just about on the spot doing it live and kind of like having fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the type of energy one can expect at a live performance that you try to give off within your music?
It's high energy and heavy. Like my sets are a lot heavier than the music that I release and way more high octane. And that's just kind of my style. I see the different facets of OddKidOut is kind of having their own little personalities. And so what I've released, you'll hear it when I play, but when I play, you might get a little bit of a different flavor than just listening to my discography, right?
Yeah.
So um, it's high energy for sure, and it's heavy. Like it's not something you can play in a normal club. It's like you're going and seeing some loud shit, or you're getting something that's more experimental, like sometimes I'll play I plan to play a set out here in LA, and it's a 3-hour set, and I'm going to be pulling things out like a PS5 controller and other things to actually make music on while I'm performing. So it's really like it's either like high octane or it's like, what am I looking at? It's like one of the
Yeah.
either. One of the either.
Yeah. Like, can we rewind for a second? Because I saw your video earlier on the controller, and like, how does that work? Because that's just it's crazy, but it's so interesting. Like, how do you
Yeah.
incorporate that into a live show nonetheless?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Work in progress still.
Yeah, I'm doing it for the first time in less than a month now. Uh, Basically, instead of finger drumming on a pad, I took those sounds and you just put them on different triggers on the controller. And then comes the month of learning how to do that, right? Because it's a whole new rewiring of the brain, essentially. But I mean, all you do is go on stage and do it and hope you don't mess up too bad. That's really that's all it is. But I will mess up, and that's okay. That's part of it. But um, yeah, it's fun, a new skill, and I spent like all summer learning how to finger drum on that PS5 controller, and yeah.
What
So
sparked that? Uh, what sparked? Was this I want a new challenge? What sparked the vision to finger drum on a controller?
I'd done it years back. My online friend, someone I never met in person, uh, basically created this. Let's call it a patch. This patch that allows me to connect my controller to Ableton, which is where I produce music, the program. And after Ableton got updated and I hadn't talked to that friend in a while, I lost my ability to do it. And some time passes and, I find someone new and they're like, bloop. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, sweet. Now I have this patch again. Yeah, I don't know, just like the hope to innovate, I guess. I mean, the hope to like take finger drumming to a different level, to do something different. So yeah, just I get bored. That's really it.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, how you can tell, like, you're a lifelong learner. Like, it sounds like everything that you've shared with us, you're so informed by wanting to grow and wanting to learn and just put things out that are true to you and creating for, like, the love of creation and for creation's sake. And something that I'm curious about too, when we're speaking about kind of the different types of shows that you play and them having this, like, high octane, high energy. Is there a difference? You've played some major stages. What is the difference between playing like a major festival versus something that's a little bit more, intimate, curated set? Do you approach those differently?
Yeah. Um, the music that I will play will be different for sure. If it's a more intimate setting, unless it's a bunch of feral creatures, I'll probably bring it down a little bit, right? And I mean that as a good thing. Like I love feral creatures. I am one. So
I'm not sure how many of the feral creatures you see at some of these shows.
I mean, that's the best, that's the
Up in
highest
the air.
compliment
Yeah.
I can say. Like that, a feral creature to me is someone that like loves, loves the music and will do anything to express how they feel. Like it's the truest form of absorbing whatever's happening, right? So if it's a smaller crowd, I mean, I think I'll probably tone it down based on the vibe, unless they really want to experience that. If it's a big festival, you obviously are going to play a different type of set. But the feeling for me as an artist is the large festival stuff is crazy because you go up there and you look out and it can be thousands of people and you're so engrossed. At least I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing up there that I forget to take a moment to like absorb and like allow it to be real. And this happened to me 2 weeks ago. Played a set at like 2 in the morning and it was stacked. Like there were thousands of people. And I remember just forcing myself to like stop what I was doing, still let the music play, but stop what I'm doing and just look at what's in front of me, because it's not real until you like let it be. And then you're like, holy shit. The intimate is like you're actually connecting with those people more. Like the sea of people's crazy, right? But you really only see the first 10 rows faces, right? When it's intimate and it's small, you see from the front to the back, and everything you play is personal. Everyone's reaction at that point is personal because you feel so close, you know? Um, so emotionally, it does feel different, but both have pluses and minuses to them for sure.
So there's no preference to either of those, that you'd rather play a super large set or something smaller, or it just depends?
I think I'm 50-50. Yeah. I wouldn't want to say no to either. I wouldn't want to lose either. They're both really fun. Yeah.
Jump tours more of like the business side because you mentioned it a little bit. But we didn't like really talk about it. Uh, being a creative, how do you handle the business aspect of being a music artist, knowing that you have to kind of run that aspect of it too? Do you have a team behind you that handles more of the business end, or are you kind of doing most of it yourself as you continue to grow?
I do have a team now, but I spent a while with no team. Really just I've always had like a manager throughout my career. I've always had like one manager. Um and now my team is like manager, agent, business manager, lawyer. And that's my team. So like obviously like I understand most of contractual law and music, but not to the degree of a lawyer, right? So it's important for me to have that person in my squad to help me. And my manager helps keep me, you know, on top of everything that I have going on, and also like planning for future stuff.
Mhm.
My agent is like my lifeline to playing shows. So, you know, it's always bringing in gigs for me to play, which is really helpful and helping me kind of like frame what my set looks like. And my business managers do a fantastic job of like helping me with a lot of money things that I might not know about, such as like tax breaks or like writing off part of my studio for taxes and stuff like that. And also like filling out invoices and sending them off and paying all of my commissions. So right now it feels like, you know, my team is sturdy and they do a great job of keeping everything on the rails so that I just spend all my time being creative. But I'm also the type of person that I care about the business side of it. So I feel like I know some artists that like don't want their hand in it at all.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But for me, I care about it. Like I opened up my own LLC while I was in Drexel. I started basically my business when I was 20. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I care about those things. They excite me. And I like building things. Whether it's a creative thing or a business thing, it's still my thing. And I want to be a part of both of them.
How did you find the team that you built? I think that'd be maybe the most difficult part of it. Find people you could trust.
Yeah. Um, my my first two managers came to me. So it was I didn't have to search for them. Um, and my third manager was worked at a label that I had used to be signed to. He left, joined a management company. We had stayed in contact. I dropped my second manager and we got lunch when I moved to LA. And then it just magically, you know, worked out. And that's my current manager now. Um, all the other stuff, it's all come naturally. Like, I don't really think you don't need a team until you need a team. And the team will start to find you because your work will reflect that. You know, like I know so many artists that get a manager before they're bringing in like somewhat of enough money to be able to even give their manager some sort of lifeline after the commitment, right? Because the manager's only making percentages. So, um, unless you have something to manage, unless you have like a talent to showcase on a show, like all of these things those people, you want them to come to you, because if you're going to them, you're just always going to be a leg behind trying to get them to work and trying to get them to do things and be bought in. But if you build the hype yourself, those people will come. And then you just have to use your intuition and make sure that who you're choosing are good people.
That makes complete
Yeah.
sense.
How'd you know they were good people? Like, what for you was that like defining moment saying like I could work with this person? Outside of the manager, the third manager, like the lawyer, the business partner, what was it that you felt that you could trust these people? I give you that insight.
No, I just comes down to reading people, and I've made mistakes with
Yeah.
other people in the past. There's two fail safes, and this is where it helps to know business too. Is the first fail safe is your gut, right? So you go and get lunch with the person. You maybe even say to them, "I'm down to do like a month trial or a 2-month trial," right? You gain that ability to do that if you have the swag already. Like if you already have things going, you can negotiate that, right? So it's more so just like references from other people, their where they are in the industry, stuff like that. The second thing that I always do, I never, ever, ever sign long-term deals ever. I've never signed a long-term deal with anybody, not even a label. I've barely even signed an exclusive deal. And I always know that this is my ship. And at the end of the day, I might have to jump through a few hoops, or I might have to pay somebody for a little bit longer or this or that, but I never sign myself into something where now I'm not in control or I'm stuck with somebody. So there's that fail safe of if somebody switches up, or, if I read them wrong, I have no problem. Sayonara.
That's really good.
Doesn't have to be a forever thing if
Yeah.
it's not like the right energy.
I would hope for it to be. Like my team, I treat them like family. And the one thing I take pride on in my business is that it's never I when I talk about things, unless it's about me. If it's a business thing, it's we. And I try to empower everybody. And I want them to feel like it's their project too. And I care a lot about that. But I also care a lot about respecting each other, putting mutual work in, and being good people, and I don't really give second chances too often. So
Absolutely. It's, from all of the amazing conversations that Usman and I've had speaking to different people on the podcast, like it's a super difficult and, kind of arduous, I guess, industry to kind of navigate. There's a lot to it from what we've heard, and we've heard it from so many different creatives. And something that I think, I'm curious your perspective on, Butch, is especially kind of starting this from the ground up when you were so young, being so self-made, getting to a place where you kind of skyrocketed. And then you've, worked with some of these established labels like Ausla and like Monster Cat. What's kind of your perspective on the differences in doing the more independent route that I feel a lot of artists are going nowadays versus, having larger labels behind you?
I mean, I wish I had the answer, right? Like I don't even know. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anyone in the industry really totally knows the right decision for anybody, because everyone's unique. And if there was a certain way to do it, you'd see a million Justin Biebers, right? Like it's just there's this magical thing in the air where it either works or it doesn't. And yeah, I'm sure labels have a lot of good techniques and money and a lot of other things that help get your chances of being bigger, to be higher than if you're independent. But there's also a ton of artists that are independent and huge. So it's like there is no one size fits all, but um, all I can do is talk about my own experiences. And for me, um, I've gained a lot from working with other labels. And like I said, what I did, at least I don't know how it necessarily works in other genres, but for EDM, I often do, like, I'll just sign a single or I'll sign an EP and that's it. And I don't take a bunch of money up front. I don't want my recoupable to be super high. And, you get integrated with the fan base at all of these labels, right? And then you play some shows that the label maybe wants to put on, and you develop relationships with other artists that are on those labels. And so I've always benefited from exploring multiple labels and trying them out and sending them demos, and it's a win-win because like doesn't hurt anybody. And there's I know a lot of people that like a similar position to me, and they signed to like a major, like not just like a EDM, like a major label as an EDM artist, take a huge upfront cash bonus and just take the fee up front. And now the label's like, well, you need to recoup all that money back, and this batch of demos you sent isn't like the song that we signed you for. So we want you to make different things. Now you're at the mercy of being creative for somebody else. You're digging out a hole, not getting any of your royalties. Which look, for some people, like getting 100 bands is probably dope, and they don't care, and they'll just release music. So it's like there is no right or wrong. It's just about like what you want, what makes you happy. And at least for me at this point right now, I don't really want to take on that that type of obligation, you know. I'm not there yet, not big enough.
I'm sure it would potentially have the ability if, somebody's giving you more guidance, direction as to this is what people that listen to our label want. That's going to guide somebody's, creative energy and flow. And I
Yes.
can assume that's super tough as an artist.
Yes. There, I have sides to support either side of the story, right? Like there was one label I was signed to. I sent them I was on a 10. It was probably the longest term I ever signed. It was a 10-song assignment. So I was with them, and my next 10 songs had to come out with them. And of the 10 I sent them, one of them was a little song of mine that I loved. And everyone there was like, no, 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 no. And I fought so hard for that one to come out. And that one's my most streamed one of all, like of all time. And then on the other side, I've signed with a separate label. We kind of came up with some ideas together, and then it landed as like the main title screen for a huge video game. And it was probably one of the biggest checks I've ever seen. So you can win either way. Like you can believe in yourself and either release it independently or fight for it in your label deal and win. You can also be open and listen to people that actually do know what they're talking about, because there are a lot of people in the industry that aren't creative but still know what they're talking about. And then you score a huge opportunity. This is a little away from the question at hand, but it kind of speaks to the same thing. Is like I see life, but also like your artist career as this huge spider web. And you just kind of have to say yes to all these different things. You're doing this, and then you do this, and you do that, and you do that. And at the time, like none of these things really make sense, but then all of a sudden they start to kind of intersect. And then you take a step back, and now you have this spider web. Like you have something to fall back on because you said yes to all these different things. Said no to maybe some things that you didn't want to do. And it eventually leads you to the present. Hopefully the present is great.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said that. It reminded me of a conversation we had with Mitch Bear on the podcast as well. Like the power of like saying yes to things. You never know where it could lead you until like you make the decision, then you can kind of reflect on it afterwards. But for him, it was like that power of saying yes led him to all these amazing things within the music industry and his fabulous career he had so far. Um, and hearing you say the same thing now remind me of that, of like the power of saying yes can be a positive thing. If it leads to something that's negative, maybe then you just learn from it. It's still something beneficial. You can still gain something from it at the end of it, which is awesome. Like I love that attitude, that mindset overall.
Yeah, everything is a learning experience. Like whether it's as long as you remain true to yourself and you're a good person, you can always learn something from something or someone or an event. You just have to decide to like mentally approach it in that way, you know?
Yeah. The decision and like the strategy and approach that you took with the short term like contracts, um, being having more control, was that something you wanted to and like knew early in your career? Or was that something like maybe mentors taught you? being around the industry, just knowing and learning?
My manager really helped me facilitate that and like cement that feeling for me. Like anytime money got dangled in front of me and I was like, we should go do that. And he's like, yeah, but think about this, think about this, think about this. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I really should. And yeah, I attribute a big part of that to my manager. And then also, like, to me, the highest form of wealth in life, two things, is experience and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that pulls me away from freedom is a no-no, no matter what it is. So
Can you define that? Like, what does that freedom mean for you?
yeah, I mean, I think for me, freedom to wake up and do what I want to do every day, the freedom to be able to travel, the freedom to be myself, the freedom to not be told what my art sounds like. Um, I'm sure everyone has their own unique experiences with what freedom stands for them. For me, that happens, that those are the things that are important for me. But creatively, my creative freedom is really, really important. Because if I have to do things I don't like, it's going to ruin my relationship with music.
Yeah.
I
Could
get.
absolutely see that being a thing. I think about when people say like, don't work for a company that you really love, like as a consumer. If you've heard that before, like I feel like people have said that to me where it's like, oh, I really love this brand. Oh, I'm gonna apply for a job with them. No, like you're gonna start to hate it because you kind of start to see like some bad sides to it, or like you don't have like the ability to just see it from like the perspective of enjoyment. It sounds like so much of what you do, you're driven by genuinely creating things that are authentic to you and not just like, this is for a check. This is for, to appease somebody. It feels like it's so truly rooted in yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. There is a balance, right? Like you have to live and you have to
Mm.
make money. And I'm happy when I get checks. Like I won't lie, it's nice.
You need
But
it to live, yeah.
yeah, like if it's still an indication of success, and that's cool. Like I support that. I love that. But yeah, your relationship with music changes once it becomes a business, and that's just the natural progression of it. And it's up to you as an artist to figure out what that balance looks like, to not let your artist project go in a direction that you hate, but to also, whatever your standard of success is, to allow your project to morph into that as well. And there's I have folders of like thousands and thousands of tunes that will never come out. Stuff that maybe they will. I don't know,
Really?
but I would never put them out.
Yeah, Respawn's like, bring them out right now.
Fair enough. Bring 'em out.
But like that's my time. Like I
Sure.
spend all day working on OddKidOut stuff, and I love it. But maybe I cook dinner and chill with my girlfriend, and it's 9, and now I'm making something that doesn't sound like anything I'd ever put out, and that brings me that little kid joy. So you have to like make space to have those moments, but you also have to build them into what you do every day, for sure.
That's a really interesting segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about. We kind of talked about, what your sets are like and playing, but I want to talk about, the current state of the type of music that you're making and where you kind of feel yourself evolving to. So I know you just released a few months ago, I Want to Know. And I know that was one, looking at Spotify, you said it's like my favorite song I've ever put out. Like, why is that?
I can't really describe it. It's just like that song reflects how I feel inside on a daily basis very well. I don't know why. It's just a feeling. Not necessarily the lyrics, not necessarily the music. It's just the vibe, like an unspoken vibe. That's why it's my favorite. But right now, a lot of my music, I want it to also work in my live sets. So that's like my big indicator of like, I want this song to fit into what I do live and have that, ecosystem work. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I also do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Like I said, for TV commercials, I've been doing a lot of like scoring and stuff like that, which is really fun. So I think I'm the best I've ever been at producing right now, and I still have so much to learn and get better at. And that's like the best place to be in, is to feel like you've put in your best effort to be at your best place, and also know that you still don't know shit.
That's life, right?
Yeah.
No
I
doubt.
feel like that's a little bit of everything, not just industry.
No doubt.
But I mean, there's always room for growth, I feel like, in literally everything.
For sure.
And that's incredible. You do a lot of collaborative work too, which is something I think is really cool. You've worked with so many different artists, and I'm curious, like, how do you make some of those connections with the people that you've collaborated with, and how do you decide what's, what you're looking for in somebody to collab with?
It's like picking friends. Like, it's the same thing. It's just like, if I work with an artist, it's either because we became friends somehow, or I'm a huge fan of their art. And like, my Instagram is a really easy way for me to reach out to people and like say what's up. But also, like, once you're in the scene for a while, you sort of just start to run into all those people and build those connections. Um, but yeah, like, I play video games with a lot of DJs, and it's like we'll be working on a song, and it's like, let's go play Call of Duty. Like, it's just it's just humans, right? And
Yeah.
it's easy to collaborate once you like leave your ego and your expectations at the door, and just sit down and try and make art with somebody. And I never sessions for me. I'm not married to anything, and I really don't care about my opinion being the leading force. I care much more about having fun. I care much more about like coming up with something that we both are like, oh, that's cool. So collaboration is easy if you aren't a jackass. And like, most people aren't. Most people are really chill. And a lot of times I even do sessions on Discord. Like, we'll just hop on the computer and just share our screens and do it that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love collaborating. Like, at the core of music, that's what music is collaboration. And nowadays, more than ever, with computers and everything else, like, it's so easy to isolate yourself as a creative. And so I spend most of my time working by myself, that when I do get a chance to work with somebody, it's refreshing. It's like, oh, this reminds me of like when I was a drummer and like in a band. So it's nice to get those feelings back.
That is awesome. Have you found yourself having people reach out to you like for like guidance, mentorship, um, that you've grown in your career?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. There's a lot of people that want to learn finger drumming
Mhm.
that reach out, and like, that always excites me. Yeah, I try to respond to as many DMs or anything I get on social media of anyone that seems like they're just trying to get their foot in the door. Because I remember being in Grace Hall dorm room in Drexel and DMing every single person I could think of to try and get some opportunity going. Like, I was shameless about it. Like, I was spending like, I was probably shouldn't say this, but I was like skipping class just to reach out to people. I had a spreadsheet. I mean, I treated it like a class at that point. Like, I was hitting every single person up. I mean, my co-ops that I got were all from my own doing. Like, everything came from, that's not to toot my own horn. It's just to go to say, like, if I see someone else that is reaching out and wants to learn and wants to do that, like, I want to extend
Mhm.
that hand. And it's like, I'm not even anyone super special, but if I can bring something helpful to somebody's world, I would love to do that. It excites me. And I'll always say yes to like any hometown peeps. Like, you brought up Mitch Beer, like, it's a good friend of mine. And that's why I'm here now. Is he hit me up, he's like, hey, you know, alumni, they want to do this and that. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's a no brainer. Like, I care about that, where I come from, and the people there, and like, that camaraderie is really important to me. So anytime anyone reaches out, I always do my best to be as helpful as I can.
I love that. The If you look out like 10 years from now, um, so let's say you're probably in your like late 20s now, so late 30s. What do you want to like? How do you want to define the past decade? What would that, I guess, capstone be for you? that you kind of leave an impact on?
I think I've let go of personal achievement goals. That I have a lot. There's a lot of things I want to do, but my whole life has been most of my life has been determined on my music and how much I excel in my music. And that will never go away. But now that I'm older, like I said, nothing's changing with music. But my initial thought when you bring that question up is like, what do I want my 30s to be about? Like, I want a family, like I want to be happy, like what I want to leave behind. I mean, hopefully I don't die when I'm 40, but if I do, it would be my music, like I hope that it makes an impact on people. And um, there's been a lot of goals that I've wanted to hit um, when I was in college, when I first started it. I'd say almost every single one of those goals, most of those goals I've hit. Um, and there's a lot more that I want, and I have a lot more to do. But I think for me, natural progression of life, the things that I'm thinking about defining my decade is like, getting married to my girlfriend, being a father in the not right now, but in sometime in my 30s, and um, settling down location wise somewhere that's nice for me, and those are more of the things that I care about. Music's really, really, really important too. It's just I think my goals are maybe more aligned in life stuff right now, because the music stuff is pretty dope, and
Mhm.
it's the train is going. The easiest way I could say it is exactly what I'm doing, just to step up, and that's it.
It's absolutely all, I
Yeah.
feel like, a balancing act, you know? Like doing the things in your personal life. I'm sure it can be difficult to, have kind of these two sides of like, here's Butch and here is Odd Kid Out, and kind of how those two things merge and are you in totality. And you have your entire team behind you, and clearly the way that you approach what you're doing is really refreshing, in my opinion. I think there's such a genuine nature behind how you kind of keep this progression going. It doesn't feel, forced at all. I feel like in today's day and age, like some of these things you see on social media, like it feels very forced, doesn't feel genuine. But I can sense that, this growth and kind of just like continuing to level up is something that's just natural and will continue to happen for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel the same way. And surprisingly, I don't really feel like Odd Kid Out and Butch are separate. Like they're very much the same thing to me. And I don't really run into that problem in my life at all. The only thing is sometimes I get consumed by music, and that might change the way that I'm present when I'm around people in my life, right? Or, there's countless holidays I have to skip because I have to play a show, or my schedule is really weird and I stay up really late. There's obvious things that are there, but I don't really feel disconnected from the two. And I think the reason why maybe some of like my life goals are a little more prominent than the music one is because this music has felt so good in the past like 2 years. Um, but I hope they always grow in tandem. So
Absolutely. Well, we have one final question that we love to ask to everyone on the podcast, two-piece question. So, part one of this question is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody that maybe looks up to you, wants to do what you've done in music, wants to follow in your footsteps? On the other side of that is, what's a piece of advice that maybe you were given at some point or that you heard somewhere that you think is not good advice and you would not relay to somebody?
hmm. Um, I think the advice that I would give would be is to be true to yourself. Like to me, there's no other option. Like, if you aren't yourself, you're just going to end up unhappy. And you'll either have, you know, your finances will be great, but your self worth and your self image is not going to be right. Or, the opposite. Like, if you're not just doing what's true to you as best as you can, all the time, something in your life is going to suffer. One of the sides is going to suffer. And, you know, I'd rather be whole and, you know, be flat across the board and maybe miss out on some of those things as long as I'm happy as a human being. Because at the end of the day, like when I rest my head, that's what I care about, is like being me and being good to people. So my advice is like, even if you think something about you feels like it needs to change, again, as long as you're being a good person, if you feel like it needs to change, like that's not always the right way. Like sometimes that's your superpower, you know? And quickly, I will say, like, I thought forever finger drumming was going to hinder me. Like I thought I would never perform because it was different. And now it's probably the main reason why I get booked. So a big part of the reason why I say that is as my quote is because like I know how it feels to think something that you do is wrong and then it turns out to be helpful, right? Bad advice? I've been pretty blessed to say that I haven't really received I haven't received any bad advice. This is going to be probably the most lame response ever, but it's what's coming to my head. Uh, if somebody asks you to do a podcast and they want you to log into your Facebook and create an event for them, they're scamming you and they're going to hack your Facebook. So don't ever get on a podcast and share your screen and show any confidential information.
What? That's insane. What's the story?
That's bad.
Yeah. Did someone try to do that?
Yeah, they hacked my Facebook and now my whole page is blocked from advertising. So essentially, I got asked to do a podcast. The dude hopped on the podcast, before it and was like, yo, like just go into your Facebook setting and like my team had told me it was cool. And I probably should have also sniffed out the signs, but basically they got my login
Wow.
through a very ass backwards way. It wasn't like he just saw my password. Like it was some like big brain shit. And I was like, fair enough, you got me there. But they took my page and they started doing like foreign political advertising on my page. So it was a very arduous task to get the page back. And then once I did, I'm now barred from advertising. And I've been trying to get in contact with Meta to lift it. Obviously barred
Yeah.
because they were, doing whatever they were doing. But still biting me in the ass 2 years later. So
Man.
That reminds me, before you go, you should share your screen.
Yeah. We need you to set up a couple of events for us if you wouldn't mind.
Talk about a learning moment. Yeah, I was like, man. At least it wasn't my Instagram, but like
That's rough.
yeah.
Yikes.
So yeah, don't share your information.
Stranger danger on the internet, folks. You
No
heard it here.
doubt. No doubt.
Oh my God.
Damn.
All right. Before we let you go, we do love a shameless plug. So where can someone that's interested in learning more about you, listen to your music, follow you on social, where can they find you?
Yeah. You can find me online everywhere at just OddKidOut. All socials, all DSPs, everything is just OddKidOut. And yeah, if you're ever interested in coming to a show, I post all my shows on my Instagram mainly.
Mhm.
I got my first headline tour coming up starting in 3 weeks. So well, actually, I can't announce some of the cities, but the first city I can announce is Los Angeles. So if you're in the LA area, October 11th at the Echo, we'll be doing a live set headline show, and then a couple more cities to add in the next couple months here. So
Any East Coast? Can we say that?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Come on, you gotta come back, show some love to Philly, where it all
I
began.
know. I know. I've only played. It's funny. I've only played twice. Really, I've really only been performing for like 2.5 years. But yeah, I got to play. What's the Electric Factory? What's the new name of that venue? Franklin Music Hall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I played that last year. Yeah, I forget where I played the other time, but I would love to play more.
I think you were at Hijinks as well, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. I was at
Hijinks.
Hijinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Classic.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you can pencil Philly in for any other shows, we're there. Okay.
Trust me, my agent hears the word Philly every 2 weeks.
All right. Good. We'll accept that as an answer. Thank you so much, Butch Sariani, OddKidOut. Thank you again. And can't wait to see all the new releases. Can't wait to see this upcoming headline tour.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.